All right, guys, we're back. Let's get right into a trade. Diontae Johnson or the 108?
Diontae Johnson.
Easy, Diontae.
Okay, Diontae Johnson or the 105?
Diontae Johnson.
Diontae.
Okay, so we're taking Diontae over what? Garrett Wilson. So that's kind of in the Treylon Burks area.
I think Garrett Wilson's gone before 105, but yeah, Treylon Burks.
I think 105 is probably the good pivot point because I think I'd probably say I could take London and Wilson over him, and then 105 is just you kind of hope that either Pickett, Walker, or Burks might go, and then you're going to get London or Wilson. So 105 is probably the point where like you're taking some risks that you may get shut out, but you may not. So that's probably the sweet spot.
Chase Claypool or the 205?
Oh, Claypool, easy.
Yeah, I've been in rookie drafts at the 205, and I will take Chase Claypool.
Okay, Claypool or the 201?
Claypool.
Can I get anything extra with that 201? Because I'll probably take it.
I'll give you the 304.
Good, done. That's all I needed. See it, Chasey.
Let's get rolling, guys. Obviously, we're doing the Pittsburgh wide receiver core, but I think we should start by talking about Mitch Trubisky. Shane, go ahead. What are your thoughts on Mitch? Can he sustain this offense?
At a minimum, Trubisky can support Diontae Johnson, or I should say Johnson's good enough that it doesn't matter who his quarterback is, and he'll support himself. Claypool's probably the one I worry about the most, but he's also the one that's probably the biggest buy. He can support at least one top 12 wide receiver.
Yeah, Trubisky is an interesting one because he's a guy that actually isn't as bad as probably people think. Like we were talking about before the show, that he probably didn't deserve to just lose his job and have to essentially sit for a year. He's better than some quarterbacks that have continued to get opportunities faster than him. So I do think this is a big stretch of probably 6 to 8 games, most likely, where he's going to get a leash to see if he can hold on to the job. I mean, his passer rating numbers for a couple years have been pretty good, better than league average. 17% rushing share, true rushing share. So we're not talking touchdowns either. In 2020, so I mean, he can run the ball for fantasy. So I think he's probably a little undervalued just because everyone assumes that Pickett's going to take over. He's going to be a starter. I would agree that he will, but I think that a decent season from Trubisky here actually may extend his career somewhere else. There's going to be a quarterback desire next year. There's going to be a lot of teams that need quarterbacks because of this rookie class. This rookie class did not solve really any quarterback problems.
Nope.
And I think we're going to also see some guys step away next year, potentially. You may see like Matt Ryan or Brady. Like there's going to be more demand. So I think Trubisky, this is a big year for him. I actually think he's probably a buy in Dynasty because his price now has dropped to a point where you buy him for late second in this year's draft. I'm not buying him for next year. If he gives me anything next year, that's fine. But I'm actually buying if he has a good year next year, he gets another shot.
All right. So how do we think Trubisky's going to impact these receivers? What's the story with Diontae?
I mean, there's some regression only because he probably won't have a 28% target share. Right. But the quality of targets can improve. But Diontae is also a hog. We've seen that, right? He's shown that over his first 3 years. Like, he's the alpha male, whether we like it or not. He's the one that's going to command the targets. And I believe that after 3 years, regardless of who the quarterback is. I think Diontae Johnson is the one I'm least concerned about. I have literally no concerns about him whatsoever. I'm more concerned with someone like, I guess, the secondary options, like thirdery option. Thirdery? It's a word. Like a Pat Freiermuth, who, had 7 touchdowns on something like 56 targets last year, something ridiculous. I'd be more concerned with him if I was counting on him to be like a tight end one on my roster.
So it's interesting because Trubisky, take out his rookie year, because that was, literally they just tried to get through the year without doing anything. But he was right around 30 pass attempts per game for his career. The Steelers with Roethlisberger the last couple years have been
chucking the ball
650, 600, 610. So if they run a similar offense, which I don't see a reason that they wouldn't. Okay, like now maybe they throw it a little bit less and they concentrate maybe more on trying to hit more big plays versus doing what they did last year with Roethlisberger. But I don't think we're going to see 458 attempts for Trubisky. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're going to see just a low volume passing offense. That's never been the Steelers. Sure, is Diontae going to get 170 targets? Probably not. But 140, 150 with a little bit better efficiency than he had. I mean, people are going to go, oh no, Roethlisberger had no efficiency at all. It was all volume. So if it stays neutral, I think you can still expect Diontae to be a top 18 or better receiver just based on his ability to draw targets. And we're all wrong about Diontae. If he goes out there and Pickens and Friermuth and Claypool and Najee cut into his market share way more than what we expect. He's done it back to back years, basically. So we just expect he's going to get 25% again, whatever that ends up being. 25% of what? I think he's top 20 locked in, unless we're just wrong about it. And if we're wrong about him, we're going to know pretty quickly.
So before we get to the rookie, how about Claypool? What do you see his targets looking like, and what can we expect out of him?
I think the big thing with Claypool is it's going to be, I mean, there's been numerous people that have said that Claypool is going to play in the slot because that's where they want him to play, which is why they drafted Pickens. So that's interesting to me, and it kind of feels like we might have a little bit of a like early Mike Williams last year. Remember when he was playing in the slot early on and he was getting more volume than you thought? And then they changed it back up. He went outside. His volume went down. His big plays went up, but he wasn't the same. He wasn't getting 10 targets a game. It was more like 6 targets a game. Claypool can play on the outside, but if he can play in the slot too, that makes it a lot easier next year to replace Diontae Johnson without having to pay him. They can essentially look for another Diontae Johnson, and if they can't find him, they could maybe keep him. But I think it gives you more flexibility. So it'll just be interesting to see how they deploy those guys.
Chase Claypool and Miles Sanders or T. Higgins?
T. Higgins.
Yeah, I mean, I like both those guys as buys, but that's not how I want to get there. I'd rather get there with like 2 seconds or something like that. They're not strong enough options to pivot down off of an asset that's worth at least a first, and which Higgins is.
Straight up, Claypool or Ayuk?
Ayuk.
Man, Ayuk. These are 2 guys that I struggle with really a lot. I'll go with Ayuk. Not by a whole lot, though, to be honest with you.
And what should we expect out of Pickens? If we take him in rookie drafts, 111 to 201 range, we're not picking him for, pun intended, we're not picking him for this season, right? We're making a long bet with him, right?
I mean, I think if you could get a Rashad Bateman type rookie year from Pickens, where he's probably at least the 3rd option, but you see enough to where you're confident next year that he kind of moves up the pecking order. And I would take that.
Well,
like 70 targets, 50 catches or something like that from Pickens. I mean, I'd be fine with that.
You know what I want to see from him? I want to see a 16 to 17% target share because that's what Claypool got in his rookie season. So they filtered out Juju this year. That means Claypool, in theory, should move up to that 2 spot, and then Pickens should be that third player that he's just gets enough targets to annoy everyone, but not enough that you're like, yeah, I'm going to start him next week.
So let's just touch on Najee real quick. Any difference in what we can expect from him with Mitch at the helm?
I don't think you see the same number of overall snaps for Najee. He played at an unsustainable pace. I mean, we're talking like almost 90% like that, and he blew the league away. I just maybe they plan on it. Maybe they plan on literally running him into the ground for 5 years, and then that's it.
That seems to be their system, right? I mean, that's what they did. That's what they did with Lev Bell. That's what they attempted to do with James Conner, except that, he got injured a lot. It's just kind of what they attempt to do. Like, you're their guy. You're going to get beat to death back there. And then, no, you're not getting a second contract. They're running back. That's the one good thing about Pittsburgh having the same front office for basically the last 60 years is that you kind of have these indicators of what, they've done in the past that they don't really vary very much from that or deviate very much from that plan. At least they haven't yet.
140 targets in 2020 from Trubisky to running backs. That's probably encouraging for Najee. If he's going to play 80+% of the snaps, it's hard to envision him not getting 80 targets, which means he's going to, given the depth of his targets, that's at least 65 catches, 70 catches. So yeah, I think he probably has an incredible floor. I do think one of the biggest losers in all of this, though, for what we're talking about, I just don't see a world where Freiermuth's not a loser. I don't see where he is anything more than there's 15 tight ends in a clumped together range. I would not be shocked if I look up and it's Gerald Everett's better than him, just in a random season. Or Hayden Hurst is as good as him in a random season. The Steelers' offense with the receivers they have, I just don't think they are planning on Freiermuth being a primary weapon. He's a sell based on the facts people still think he's a top 10 tight end, when really he's just another like guy.
Let's say it's a 1.75 tight end premium. Are you taking Freiermuth or the 112?
112. I think you can argue Trey McBride over Friermuth if
Yeah,
you're projecting forward.
Is Trey McBride going to be available there, though, at 112 and a 1.75 rookie?
I think he is, yeah.
All right, well, if he is, then yeah, I'll go get Trey McBride.
I think you can probably get Trey McBride plus like maybe a third or something like that, because I think people look at him and go, oh, he's a rookie. He's behind Ertz. He's not going to produce. But in 2 years, if he pops, his pop will be twice of what Pat Freiermuth is.
How about Freiermuth and the 106 or George Kittle?
Is this regular or is this 1.75?
This is 1.75.
1.75, I'd take Kittle all day.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, if you've made it this far in the video, you've seen Shane potentially disappear, and then he's kicked this all over into different windows. So check us out on the Instagram, the TikTok, Patreon channels below, Dynasty Trades HQ, Dynasty and Chill. Leave a comment, leave a review, leave a suggestion.
Bye, guys.